It's time for the Fourth and Fantasy podcast, right here, right now. Let's go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Fourth and Fantasy podcast. I'm Riley Burnett, and I'm really excited to be starting this new project or journey, or really whatever the hell you want to call it. It doesn't matter. Either way, I have a very special guest today. Huge football knowledge is the only way to put it. From Scioto County, as well as me. His name is Judd White, and I was able to hop on the phone with him earlier today. It is Friday, September 26th, and we talked about Thursday night football last night. We touched on some of our love for the Ohio State University, some of the players and history, and a few other things to look forward to for this weekend in fantasy football. We have a ton of action coming up on Sunday, as well as 2 games slated for next Monday night. So I'm going to kick it over to that recording of the phone call. I hope you all enjoy, and thank you. All right, I think we're good to go. I'm on the phone here with Judd White. Judd, it's nice to have you.
Hey, Riley, appreciate it. Appreciate you having me on. Haven't done this before, so we'll see how it goes.
So I think we'll just kind of get a baseline here to start off. Obviously, as I mentioned before we hopped on this call, you're a big football guy. So kind of just tell me about your history just around football, being in it, watching it, just everything.
Well, started playing when I was in the fourth grade at Valley. Honestly, fell in love with it from day one. I played all the way through high school. Got to the end of high school and realized that, probably don't have the size, speed to go play any farther. And went ahead and focused on my career as far as going to college. But when I got into college, I started at my freshman year at Shawnee State. I helped Valley started their, I guess you would refer to it as intramural program, where they took the Pee Wee program and brought it in-house and started playing Valley kids against Valley kids rather than traveling around. And I coached the team there my freshman year in college. And then my sophomore year, Coach Crabtree approached me, my coach at Valley, and asked me to help with the junior high team. And throughout college and my first year out of college, I did that. So I coached another 4 years of junior high football and gave that up when I graduated and went into accounting and haven't coached since. But pretty much spend most of my fall doing all things football. I have Ohio State season tickets that I'm blessed with through work. A group of 8 of us have Bengals season tickets. So a lot of traveling to Cincinnati and Columbus through the football season. And my, I don't know, lack of a better term, first day best friend Nolan is the head coach of Valley. So I go to pretty much every Valley game. And once the playoffs roll around, Valley hadn't had much playoff success here recently. So doing a lot of traveling around, watching high school football. I kind of really, really enjoy high school football in Ohio. So kind of keep up with it around the state. And while I'm not coaching or doing anything like that, I spend a lot of my time between watching football, fantasy football, gambling on football. Probably not the best habit to have at times, but pretty much look forward to the fall year round because of football. So I have a background. Like to think I know more than probably the average football fan.
Yeah, well, that's super cool. You've kind of been able to take in football on all levels of the game, obviously from a very young age. But, today we'll kind of move over into fantasy, but it's definitely awesome to see the extensive background, all the knowledge you bring. How many fantasy leagues are you in?
I'm in 6.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They just keep adding. So 4 redrafts and 2 dynasty leagues. The dynasty, I would go with there being how do I say it, like kind of year-round commitments. There's trades going on in those throughout the offseason. The drafts are at odd times and things like that. So the dynasty kind of takes up a lot of time. Have 2 of those, and then 4 year-to-year redrafts that I've done for a while now. We'll put it like that.
Yeah.
This is the league that I started. It's funny we talk about this. I I I relate a lot of life events to football games. It's kind of weird that we're talking about that, but the Ohio State and Texas played in 05 and 06. In the 06 game at Texas, the night before, on Friday night at a Valley game, threw together a fantasy draft. None of us had ever played fantasy football before. So the Ohio State-Texas game in 2006 was our first draft in that league. This year would have been our 20th. So that league's in its 20th year. Played another one with a bunch of Lucasville guys that's actually in its 32nd year. But I didn't join until it was 15 years deep. So I'm in year 17 of that. And that league started, Riley, they used to wait for the USA Today to come out on Monday and Tuesday to add up the points.
Wow.
That was pre-computer. I know you're in that 20, 21-year-old range somewhere, and
Yeah,
probably
that's
don't know a
what
lot
you
about.
mentioned. 2005. I was actually going to say that's the year I was born.
Yeah, yeah. So you don't really know a life without computers. My league actually did have. I mean, that was online. The first year was actually on Fox Sports, which I'm not even sure that's a website anymore. And then we went over to CBS in year 2 or 3, and we've been there ever since.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the league that I'm in with the other guys from Lucasville was a hand calculated league for a long time. So yeah, they've some of us guys from Lucasville have been playing fantasy football for quite a long time.
That's awesome. You mentioned Ohio State season ticket holder. Obviously, we're in week 4 now. The NFL season had Thursday night football last night. Seahawks pulled out a late win, but let's talk about our boy Marvin Harrison Jr. bounced back in the second half of that game last night.
Yeah, the first 3.5 weeks for Marv, he did not exactly look like an Ohio State wide receiver. Didn't those his cohorts, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, that have been in that receiver room at Ohio State over the last 10 to 15 years are making plays everywhere, and he hadn't quite lived up to that billing so far. He had a solid rookie year. I'm not saying that. It's just at this point, it seems like a lot of the receivers coming into the league are expected to – you look at what Brian Thomas did last year, what some of these guys are doing, their immediate impact. And, Marv, I think, without looking, he was 800 some yards, 5 or 6 touchdowns. Solid rookie year by most means, but, as a Buckeye fan yourself, he was as hyped as they came until number 4 came onto the scene last year. Marv was about as hyped as a Ohio State receiver recruit as we've had in a long time, and he dazzled at Ohio State. I don't quite know that if he's getting the quarterback play he needs, but definitely made plays in the second half last night to give them a puncher's chance. And honestly, a penalty on the kickoff probably cost them at least getting it to overtime and seeing what happens. But
Yeah, I know. Actually, I was kind of thinking about this and getting some notes together earlier today. I'm pretty sure the last time I saw you at Ohio Stadium was the night game in 2023 against Michigan State. They debuted the all gray jerseys,
yep.
and Marvin Harrison Jr. had 2 touchdowns in the first half, and then he scored about 15 seconds, or in the first quarter, and then had a touchdown about 10 or 15 seconds into the second quarter for his third.
Yeah, he was as spectacular and as a Ohio State career as pretty much any of them.
Yeah.
I mean, Garrett Wilson came in from day one, and then it kind of seems like Jeremiah's lapping the field to where, there were people talking this week, is Jeremiah going to do anything this year? And he's, I haven't looked at the stats, but he has to. He's to the point now where he almost has to have a, 7 for 180 and 2 touchdowns to be considered a great game for him. And that's probably not fair to him, but that's the kind of ability he has. And that's honestly how Marv was. I mean,
Yeah.
just built a little different. But I don't know how much you follow recruiting and things like that, but there's another Harrison coming.
Jet
Um,
Harrison.
Jet Harrison, and he may be better than all of them. So it's I hope he ends up in scarlet and gray because it's always fun, the receivers we run out there. I feel like we've had good quarterback play at Ohio State for a while now, but with some of them not exactly panning out in the NFL, it may be we just have really great wide receivers, and that's helping the calls on Saturdays in Columbus.
Yeah, let's segue talking about these younger guys into another rookie here in the NFL. A guy that really, in my eyes, obviously I know he went to school pretty much all the way across the country, but really kind of he instills that kind of hardball mentality in Cam Scatabo. He was pretty unbelievable this last week, even though the Giants did fall to 0-3.
Yeah, didn't really know what to make of him at Arizona State. Um, the Pac-12's kind of busted up at this point, and I still think of Arizona State as a Pac-12 team. I don't care what happens, but he he's built a little different, and you kind of hate to see a whole lot of offensive talent go to the Giants because it seems like it's where they go to die. I mean, I don't really know what to make out of Daniel Jones at this point. I thought he was extremely I'll use a slang term, kind of mid.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he looks like a Pro Bowl type quarterback. I hope that don't happen to Cam, because he does seem to be just built a little different. He's kind of I guess you would call him a more of a throwback type running back. More the seeking out contact where a lot of guys now are trying to save the wear and tear in their body. Cam's kind of throwing himself into those high speed collisions. Um, I, you know, I think I seen they're making the move. They're going to Jackson Dart this week.
Yeah.
I think that helps him, in the receiving game from a fantasy, standpoint. But I don't know, Riley. The NFL is just different, man. I don't know how often you can slam yourself into people like that and stay upright. So
Right.
hopefully, he seems like a guy that's easy to cheer for, especially as they made their run there at Arizona State last year. But yeah, if you're going to play behind the Giants' offensive line, I guess you got to kind of be a little tougher.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And let's kind of get into some guys maybe that maybe haven't had the best starts this season. We talked about Marv already a little bit. Another guy I want to talk about, that same class, LSU receiver, Brian Thomas Jr. They play in San Francisco this Sunday. Not the easiest matchup for him, but that's a guy we know based off last year. If he gets the targets, he can get it going.
Yeah, I he seems to. I don't have any numbers in front of me. I still feel like they're throwing him the ball. I feel like he got quite a few targets in Cincinnati when we were up there a couple weeks ago. Um, you know, I'm not exactly sure what the Jaguars are trying to do. I don't know that. Obviously, Travis Hunter is a very talented guy, but I think he's a better cornerback than what he is receiver at this point. But that's
Yeah, I agree with
I'm not
you.
I'm not in practice every day. Uh, Thomas is, as a Buckeye fan, I'm not gonna. Thomas is from wide receiver U number 2, as good as LSU is. I'm not. I'm not conceding that. I think Ohio State's got more quantity. Obviously LSU's got some of the top upper echelon with Jetta and Jamar and those guys. But, you know, I don't know that you could call Trevor Lawrence a bust at this point. I still think he's a above average NFL quarterback, but the hype that he came in with, you probably expect a little bit more. Um, I think the Jags overall maybe are just slightly better than what people thought, and they've been able to run the ball a little bit more. And that's kind of maybe affected Thomas's numbers somewhat. I'd have to look at the actual target share, but it's a kind of weird phenomenon people talk about different times. Some of these sophomore slumps with these receivers. I don't know if it's if it's teams get more tape on these guys and start taking some things away or what it is, but BTJ is just way too talented to not, be one of those 1,200 yard, 90 catch, 8 to 10 touchdown guys. So unless Lawrence falls off the map, gets hurt, or they're just absolutely terrible, I would buy low, sell high, buy low on Thomas if someone's willing to part with him. You get a lot of fantasy players are so spur of the moment. Like, there's a lot of people right now panicking on Jamar Chase, which I get it. Joe Burrow's hurt. That's going to happen. But you're going to give up the guy that won the Triple Crown last year in receiving?
Yeah.
I mean, he can, he's produced even when Browning's played before. Obviously, it's an adjustment. You can't take Joe Burrow away from a guy like that. But it's guys like that. It's really hard to hide talent. So I look for Thomas to bounce back. You got guys that are, let's jump on the Trey Tucker bandwagon. Some of these guys that have ran up some numbers in blowouts, where their team's coming back and, playing against a bunch of high safeties, catching, 10 balls for 100 yards that were they really in a competitive game at that point? So
Right.
definitely not panic time on some of those elite wide receivers.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you mentioned a guy like Trey Tucker. Obviously we've seen Geno for a few years in the league now. Definitely a guy who wants to throw the ball and air it out, but call me a little bit biased. I want to give a lot of the credit to Chip Kelly for last week's game plan. Obviously we watched a lot of Ohio State last year. The book on him kind of just get the ball out on the perimeter, a little bit of motion here and there, just kind of throwing guys in different spots, trying to get that ball to the outside, and definitely has a lot of leverage for those bigger plays late into the game.
Yeah, I mean, Chip Kelly was great at Oregon. Chip Kelly, some of the interviews and things he did last year, he was just very excited to get back to, coaching more on the in the room level instead of that CEO type. And, I don't know, you're probably old enough. You may remember the Chip Kelly teams at Oregon back then.
Yeah.
I always thought he's been a master. And one of the things I liked about him was if he didn't think he could beat you 11 on 11, he would try to beat you 3 on 3, or he would try to beat you 5 on 5, get you in a numbers game and think, your 11 might be better than my 11, but these 3 are better than those 3. So, Geno's been a very serviceable NFL quarterback at this point. I mean, NFL drafting of quarterbacks is such a crapshoot, right? I mean, everybody probably kind of thought Joe Burrow was a can't miss. A lot of people thought Jaden Daniels was a can't miss, and those guys have produced. So when you get a quarterback like Geno, if you can put guys out in space and get them on the perimeter and get some matchups, yeah, you're going to have some success. So football is so much scheme and so much winning these individual battles. That's what makes it great. So if you get a guy like Chip Kelly, who probably got a bad rap for, some of the stops he made after Oregon, guys don't forget to coach. That's one thing, a great coach is a great coach. They don't forget how to coach. And sometimes they don't have the right personnel. Sometimes it's the square peg and the round hole type thing where you got guys that are Bill Parcells always said, don't expect me to make dinner if you won't let me buy the groceries. So sometimes, you got to get guys to the right system. And Chip's one of those guys that, not to change gears really much, but even as a huge Buckeye fan, Ohio State's one of the worst fan bases in the country. I'm sorry.
Oh, no doubt.
It just is.
No doubt.
They, they're ready to turn on them. CJ's kind of struggled. CJ Stroud's kind of struggled after his rookie year, and I still think I think their offensive line's terrible, but that's another story for a different day. But when he lost to Oregon early in his career, all everybody wanted to talk about was how terrible he was.
Mm-hmm.
He was terrible. He was terrible. He was
I
terrible.
know you were at that game. I was at that game, probably on the opposite sideline of you.
Yeah. Yep. And he just, I mean, he didn't play great that day, but everyone looks back on CJ's career as how great he was. But there were thousands of people that wanted him benched 2 games into his career.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a lot of people early on with Chip Kelly are like, "What's he doing? What's he doing?" Sometimes it takes teams a while to figure out who they are, and you know, right now, tomorrow in Washington, I expect Bo Jackson to lead Ohio State in carries.
For
He didn't
sure.
carry the ball. He didn't see the field against Texas. I mean, he may have had a snap or two. He didn't carry the ball against Texas.
Yeah.
They went with the older guys, and then all of a sudden you see, you know what? He's pretty good. So, sometimes it takes teams a while to figure it out, and I think that's how it was with Chip Kelly at Ohio State. He was figuring out what he had, and once he did, some special stuff happened there at the end of last year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. So, Judd, one final thing here. I kind of go through this every week, maybe just looking for a guy. Who would be your X Factor player for fantasy football for week 4 this weekend?
X Factor player this weekend. Well, who I hope it is, who is in one of those little sophomore kind of funks that I think's due for a huge one, would be Lad McConkey.
Yeah.
Um, like I expect teams now, especially with Hampton going to be the main ball carrier there. I think you're going to see probably Herbert get a little more one-on-one action, more guys in the box, trying to take away Harbaugh's ability to run it. I got a lot of shares in Lad McConkey. I believe in Lad McConkey. Uh, I'm a big. I love slot receivers in fantasy football. They pad stats. Um, you're normally getting the third or fourth cornerback of another team when they're playing man,
Mm-hmm.
and I would look Lad McConkey. That's my thought for the week on that.
I love to hear that. I have him in one of my leagues. I actually have him stacked with Justin Herbert, which obviously Herbert so far this year has worked out pretty well. McConkey,
Yeah,
not so much, but yeah, like you said, and obviously playing out of the slot like that so much, and it's not so much about really his top end speed, but he gets off the line quick. He's a fantastic route runner. I mean, even
yep,
watching him at Georgia, he was a outstanding route runner, and just kind of being able to get that last break, and he's so good at creating separation, on the back end or towards the sideline at the end of plays.
very true. And he ends up separating way more than you think. Not that he's got burner speed. I mean, he's not a Matthew Golden. He's not an Olympic sprinter type, but he's one of those slot receivers that can turn the 12-yarder into the 50-yarder. Very kind of similar to JSN, similar to Jackson.
Yeah.
You know, it's just the NFL, with the way the NFL is now, the the speed rush, hand in the ground defensive ends are on such a different level athletically now that quarterbacks got to get the ball out fast. And when you've got that guy in the slot that I don't even really have to read him. I know he's going to be open if my first 2 reads aren't there. That's such a security blanket for a quarterback. And I mean, if Keenan Allen, who's apparently young again, I didn't know that was possible, but and Quentin Johnston's figured out that it is really clutch to actually catch the football. I mean, they're gonna start getting more attention, I guess, from opposing defenses, to where I think you'll start to see more of the numbers games from Lad McConkey. So that little stack there, I think it's going to be pretty solid going forward, because the Chargers may be in the best division in football. I think the
Right.
Broncos are pretty solid. With Burrow out, even though I'm the biggest Bengal fan you'll find, the Browns aren't very good. The Ravens' defense is terrible. The AFC West may be the best division in football.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, the Raiders aren't good, but they're not that bad. So, I wouldn't mind my Lad McConkey, Justin Herbert shares at this point.
Yeah, and looking kind of more into the metrics of it, I guess. Opponent ranking 31st for the Giants. Obviously, we know they have that dangerous pass rush, but really outside of that, and you have a guy like Herbert who, is tall, sees over the line well, looks for that slot, gets the ball out quick. I mean, besides that Giants pass rush, what else are they supposed to do against a guy like Lab McConkey?
Right. I mean, so that's all you heard coming in the year was the Giants are building defensive line out, which honestly, that's the way you have to win in the NFL. You have to be able to get pressure with four to where you can play some coverage and make these guys get the ball out quick, make them put together drives, not so you're not giving up big plays. And all we heard was how dominant the Giants defensive line is. Not quite been there yet. So, really good matchup for the Chargers. Hopefully, Lad McConkey has a big week.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think he's definitely due. The statistics, the metrics, they line up for him. Of course, now with next gen stats, you really don't know what sort of shit you're going to get yourself into with them. I mean, looking into the numbers, and a lot of stuff gets flashed, in these primetime games, and especially Amazon. Like last night, you never know what sort of stat they're going to pull up and totally change your view of it. But
Oh yeah,
yeah, it's a
it's
exciting week for the NFL. And Judd, I thank you so much for your time. I think it went very
not.
well, and definitely some good topics we hit on. And like I said, exciting week to look forward to.
Oh, it's every week's a good week, but this one's a good setup. So NFL game Sunday morning. Basically, you can watch football from 9 o'clock till 9 o'clock, or 9 o'clock till 11 o'clock, and uh, there's a lot of worse things you can be doing. So
Who has it better than
but,
us?
exactly. Don't go there. Go Buck. But I appreciate you having me. Anytime you want to do it again, you know how to get a hold of me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, buddy.
All right. See you later, Judd.
Have a good one. Thanks,
Yep.
man. Bye bye.
Well, I really hope you guys learned a few things from Mr. Judd White. Of course, I did throughout that phone call there. As I mentioned before, just a ton of football knowledge. And also, just a really awesome guy. Great to talk to him today. Thank you for listening in to this first episode. I really appreciate any and all support, any viewership that I'm able to get here, just trying to learn the basics, the ins and outs of podcasting, and talk about something I love while doing it. So, if you did enjoy, don't be afraid to like and subscribe to the channel. Once again, thank you for your time. This has been Riley Burnett with the Fourth and Fantasy Podcast.